really Bead Shop Live is, I think, the correct
BSDC
moniker of
FBL.
that. Something like that.
Right?
Something.
I like an acronym.
You do, indeed. Well, you guys, I'm Kate Richburg in front of the camera along with Emily Miller.
Hi,
and we've got
Richburg.
Brandon behind the camera, and we are ready to have a fantastic broadcast today. I need to make sure that it's coming up on all of our social media. You have us up, Em. Why don't I have us up?
I don't know. What's the matter with you?
Where are you at?
What's the matter with you?
Where
I don't know. I don't even know what happened to my phone. It went up. It's around
Right,
here
it's
somewhere.
away.
Oh, there it is.
There
Okay.
it is.
I just have it on the iPad. That's
let me make sure I've
just
got
what I need. I like that small screen on this.
I've got us up and running. I can see us on the
We need a big
YouTubes.
TV right over there that
I
we
know,
can monitor.
right?
That we can watch ourselves on.
Yes, there we go. I see
Yeah.
us. I see us. What we need is a production assistant. Well,
A
so
girl
many
can
things.
dream.
Yes, because Brandon has so much to do.
Yep.
She's running around like crazy. So,
Hi, Lori Schatz Miller.
if anyone wants
Hi
to
to another
intern,
Miller.
if anyone wants to intern on Wednesday mornings, you
Hi,
just get in
everybody.
touch. Right? So, you guys,
Brandon's begging.
here we are. It's super exciting. Yep, I can see us right here on the YouTube, so it's there. If you go to our channel, beadshop.com, over on YouTube, it's all there. You can also give our YouTube channel a follow, because if you have not followed us on YouTube, you get a notification every time I've uploaded some new videos. I uploaded them actually this week from my appearance on Beads, Balls on Jewels.
Yeah, I got a little notification.
It was
cool.
great. And so we're going to be talking a little bit more about that this weekend in our newsletter and on our blog. So we've got some of those fun things going on there. But if you give our YouTube channel a follow, it always makes us go up higher in, I don't know, those rankings, those rankings, those algorithms.
I always think of it as, it's way easier to find the higher in those things you get.
Right,
So, if you're
so follow and heart and love and
if you're looking to kind of keep up on those kind of things, it helps them tailor it for you better.
Yeah.
But it tailors it for everybody. So I think that's always a good point.
Works out well.
Yeah.
And you can also find, we've got Janice muttering over on YouTube. I point this
Moderating?
way.
Sounded like you said muttering.
Muttering. I've got her muttering to herself on YouTube.
Well, she's alone at home, probably, except for the cats.
Right. And then Gita, of course, is over here on our Facebook feed, commenting as beadshop.com. So thank you to both of you guys. And we've got so many people watching. It's awesome to have all of you guys here. And we've been working really hard. We know we've had some issues with our streams. So if I'd really like to know your feedback, how we're doing, how we're sounding, how we're looking. Hopefully our stream is going to hold through the whole broadcast. If it doesn't, you guys, we come right back on. So hang tight. We'll just stop the broadcast, come on back on. Yeah. But I think we're good. I think we're good to go. We've got so much.
I got a lot to say, and I'm dying to say it.
Right, dying to say it. First, I want to say, it looks like it should be like Bead Shop After Hours. We look
I'll have a martini if you will.
Right? It's 5 o'clock in the world somewhere, kids. You're wearing your pearl necklace, interestingly enough.
A pearl necklace that I did a long time ago, and I made one for Janice, and I've made them, my mom had one, and my sisters both have one, and it's one of those ones that I use my pearl mix on.
Yeah.
I have a jar where I put like the leftovers from any kind of project.
And you guys have seen that when we did our stone mix. It was really the inspiration for our stone mix project
absolutely.
That Jenny and I did last week.
Yep.
Now, I
love this as kind of, it's an easy wearing.
It's easy wear.
Yeah.
The first thing that I did when I thought about the pearl, you know I made that pearl mix.
Yeah.
It was last year, right? I really wanted to mimic this, right?
Yeah.
And so we had the pearl mix up. It sold out in 24 hours. It was fantastic. I love that thing. It was all your fault. I made a necklace.
We can do it anytime.
Well, we are doing it.
Oh, good.
I'm actually going to do it. So you guys will, I know you guys have started to ask already. We have a new pearl mix coming.
Oh.
I'm going to talk about it at the end of the show.
It's very
But again,
it's very beachy, actually.
I feel like it's
know?
my homage to you when I do these. So I'll talk about it at the end because this is going to be all for free.
Well, you
Friday.
missed part of my homage in this particular necklace, and I never told you this when we did the program either. So in between each of these is 5 seed beads. 5. And 5's kind of my lucky number. I have it popping up, or multiples of divisions of 5. I have it popping up in my life all the time. So whenever I use 5, it's kind of like my secret little signature. Probably other people use 5 too, but you didn't use 5 on that. You did
I didn't.
3.
I used 3. I used 3 because, I don't know, because 3, it's the I love you. 3.
Well, and it's also it's balanced. 3 odd numbers seem a little more visually balanced. You know, you put 2 things up there and there, but you put 3 and it looks better.
Right.
Yeah. So
I think people are really picking up on our after hours at Bead Shop. Someday we'll have to do an after party.
I kind of hope that we have an open house here to celebrate the new
location. We will.
And you and I are going to be hours, and then we'll do
a late night broadcast.
We'll Uber home, so we don't have to drive.
Yes, that's right. And out there somewhere on the internet is a late night show that I did with Stephen James. When it was at a bead show, and it was late night. And it's pretty funny. If you can find it, I'm not telling you where to look, but if you can find it, it's fine. Anyway, all right. Well, I think everybody has jumped on and we're seeing everybody. It's great to see you guys. So this was an epic project. You tackled
all my projects seem to be epic.
So 2 of the questions that Drea in our customer service department gets so often is, what about infinity stitch and what about herringbone stitch? And so when I tossed this over to you, I was like, we need the clear voice of Ms. Emily Miller.
Let me take my glasses.
To help, right? There she goes. I told you. She's going to take off her glasses. To walk us through this, because I know how I use infinity, and we, meaning the royal me. Whatever. I love infinity stitch, and I use it most of the time instead of the traditional 2-stitch laddering. But it limits you a little bit in your thread choice when you infinity, a little, versus the 2-length method. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about threads and stuff. But first.
Are you going to let me talk now?
Finally.
It's really hard for me
to
watch you smile, watch you talk.
She's all, I'm going to talk now.
I'm going to pop in a minute.
All right, so do it. Go.
So,
go, Emily, go.
One of the things I really liked about, I really liked about working with Bead Shop in general, and we've been just doing this for a year and a half or so, almost 2
years,
is I get handed things that are, while in my wheelhouse, maybe something I really haven't explored real fully. And so it kind of forces me, not out of my comfort zone at all, but it forces me into doing something that I might not have chosen to do on my own.
Right, because had you made a ladder bracelet before?
I had made 1 ladder bracelet before coming to Bead Shop, just 1, and that was actually, and then you brought me a package when we went to Bead Button. We went somewhere,
right? And
was it Tucson?
It was Tucson, and we laddered together on the plane.
And the airport,
in the airport, yeah.
People are going and coming. People were like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah, we're all. We're
laddering. So for me, the technique and the style of it, I was completely familiar with. I was completely familiar with Chan Lu. In fact, I met her once. And looking at her things, I really admired them, but they were a little bit too plain for my taste, and a little not plain is not the right word. They didn't feel enough challenging to me. I'm a person who both loves and hates a challenge. I can't stand puzzles in the sense that if I can't do it, I just don't want to do it. Like crossword puzzles.
Oh my gosh, I love a crossword puzzle.
It just makes
me nuts. What a surprise!
It makes me nuts.
Point, counterpoint.
But I love having a challenge that kind of pushes me into learning something new or exploring something really fully. And one of the things that I really came by on all this that we did was really being real present and in the moment while stitching is something that's common to me, and it hadn't been common to me in this particular stitch. Right. And so now it is. I'm much more in the zone when I'm doing this, and I'm much more kind of paying attention and noticing all these little things. I really enjoyed working with all the products that you and Janice choose for Bead Shop. I really feel like your curatorial eye is really good. And I also like to take products and say, wait, I can do something else with this, other than what's already kind of being shown and being visible. And let me just pull something and point that out to you. You know,
Yeah.
we worked both with
So shall we, on this note,
yeah. Do you want to go over each one?
Well, let's go ahead and move the camera.
Oh, okay,
so people
sure.
can see
Absolutely.
what's going on here.
Absolutely. Otherwise, I'm gonna not be showing you much.
Then we'll take a look at what you've got going on here. So let's move this camera around and over.
Do your magic, Brand.
Everybody can see what we're. Yeah, there you go. Turn. Good, good. And let's see how this is way down here. We want it kind of up.
I was trying to hold that and this.
There we go.
I don't think I can hold that.
And so this just goes. Thanks, you guys, for bearing with us. There you go.
Yes. As far back up as we can
Okay.
get it. And that's. Doesn't seem to be anything we can tighten there.
Thanks, you guys, for hanging in there. We're just gonna.
Sorry, I get it all good, and then I'm like, no, I can get it just a little bit better.
Okay. And then, Bryn, let's maybe move that light down just a little. Let's see, I know we were doing it that way, but it's a little, there we go. What are we thinking about that light? Okay.
Yeah.
There we go. So let's move it just a little so it's a little lighter. Yeah, I would move it. Let's see how it looks.
Oh, there
down.
you go.
Yeah, that looks a lot better.
That's good.
Okay, great.
Can you handle that, Emily?
I might need a hat later on,
Right,
or
it's a
sunglasses.
little, right.
So one of the beads that you guys handed me for this project, or that we were talking about including in this project, were these great star cuts from Dakota Stones, and I am totally in love with the stone cut now.
I adore a star cut.
It kind of pushes all my buttons as far as it meets all my needs.
Right.
As far as texture and cutting, I tend to like things a little bit more organic and a little bit more natural looking, and yet the quality of these stones is really lovely. We have 3 color palettes today that we put up recipes for. One with the Amazonite, one with
that's the
aquamarine.
It's I
Black-
got 'em right
Black
here.
Hills.
Black Hill. No, not Black Hills.
No,
it has another
it's
name.
the-
Black Gold. That's what it is. Black Gold.
That's the
aquamarine.
Peruvian Amazonite star cut. This one, is the matte black gold Amazonite, and then this guy over here is the natural agate. Natural agate.
Yeah. So I loved these stones, and when you look at the strands, there's a lot of variation, and you could string these, in the necklace that I have on with all the pearls, you could string these in that kind of style, and it would look really great. You wouldn't have to worry about picking things out or moving things around. What I did for these bracelets, though, was to kind of curate down those colors of beads.
Which I love this. Now, you are going to talk a little bit later also about having kind of an editorial eye, and we're going to talk a little bit more about maybe a challenge that you might have for people.
Imagine that this strand made this different animal to me.
And it's really funny when Karen and Drea, there's your little beloved picture there. When Karen and Drea were looking at these and writing up the project pages and stuff for this, Karen called me in. I get a text, like my phone just blows up, right? And I get a text from both of them, and they're like, "These aren't the right strands. They're not the right strands. The strands aren't right. It's not right." And I'm like, "Everybody, calm down. Take a breath." And I said to me, she goes, that black
gold,
black gold
aquamarine.
Black gold Amazonite. She goes, that doesn't have any brown in it. This doesn't have any black in it. And I'm like, all right, let's. So I took it off the wall. We laid it down, and we saw indeed that this strand, though it reads blue, it goes from this kind of dark black color all the way to this. Now I made 2 different ones. And which I love about this. So see how you used one strand for
Yeah.
these.
Yeah, one strand.
Right?
Yep.
And so you started with this one with the kind of red-brown and this one with the black. And so, as you were saying, using, and I didn't even, like on this
You know
one,
what? You know
this
what set me
ombre,
off to this?
it's
You know what
perfect.
made me really make sure that this was right?
What's that?
When you had Ali Mori on, and she said that she took the
Monthly mix.
monthly mixes and took them apart.
And she sorted those suckers.
Sorted them, and I was
know.
like, I'm going to
That's
sort
crazy,
these too,
right?
because
Crazy
I
girl.
think that ombre effect is
almost a
it's-
winner 100% of the
it's
time.
kind of leveling up.
Mm-hmm.
It's taking something that's
I
a little
agree.
bit mixed up and a little bit everywhere, and smoothing it out a little bit.
Yeah, and bringing some visual order. I was going to try and undo those. This one thing I wanted to point out. You have your Peruvian Amazonite
Uh-huh.
that's right here. There is, and we're going to look at variations, but there are variations.
Oh, every
in
strand's
these
a little
star cut.
different. Oh, yeah.
And sometimes even in size. Now, you pulled these probably 2 deliveries ago
Right.
of the star cuts. And so you can see how in size this smaller than the current stock that we have here.
And there'll be a little variation in the stones as well.
There will be.
So one of the things that, for me, learning more about how infinity stitch works was kind of looking at this very carefully, and it sounds very woo-woo to say I was kind of in the moment while this was all going on, but fully learning from each stone and learning from each particular pattern that I picked up.
I love all these.
I this one actually is the one that makes my heart go the pity pat the most. But having that unusual color combination come out of that kind of mixed up color pile is just really fun. And you can, if you want, alternate how you put these on your bracelet. I think on this carnelian one I made a mistake. If the wrap goes around, they look real similar.
They look similar.
But it'd be nice to kind of float it the other direction. So instead of one ombre might be from light to dark and the other from dark to light. And then you see a little bit more of a mix up in the
what I love about Carrie saying it's ombre amazing.
Oh gosh.
Which I love it. I love that. I love it.
That's really good.
Amazing. So we're going to come back and look at these in just a few because we're going to break down the pattern of these 3 different ones. I just wanted to mention all of and Gita is linking them on our Facebook feed, and I'm sure Janice can link it over on our YouTube feed. You can find everything that we're talking about, of course, at beadshop.com. And if you click right on our Facebook page, the slider that's right on the homepage, you'll click on that, you'll go over right to the project, and you'll see all the ingredients, everything listed, so you can find that. I'm going to talk about a few things that I've got over here while you get set up for your first ladder demo.
I have one more thing.
You
I
have one more? Okay.
I got one more thing
You
I
got
want
one more.
to share about this. Keep in mind that every one of these strands that you choose is going to have a little bit of a different mixture.
Right.
So if you want to have lots of color and lots of options, you might want to get 2 strands.
Yeah.
Now, and really in the ones that have the most contrasties, that might be the place where having a couple strands in your stash might be worthwhile. I know these are not the most inexpensive beads, but if you have a few extras like this left over, that's a perfect pair of earrings. It's a perfect little transitional bead to something else.
Yeah.
You know, it's not a deal breaker at all. And keep in mind too, when we see the Picasso, and the Rembrandt finishes.
Yeah, and we've got some new, and we'll talk about these new beads.
There's going to be some variations on the theme of how these beads kind of appear.
These are the lemon matte Rembrandt. These guys here, and when Emily, and I'm just going to jump in because I know the backstory on this. So when I gave these to Emily, we have the 3 brand new Rembrandts. Let's show those just real quick so everybody knows what we're talking about. We've got them in the green, the blue, and the yellow. The green is the emerald matte Rembrandt. We've got the cobalt matte Rembrandt, and we've got the lemon matte Rembrandt, right?
And that's what these guys look like
That's
in
what they
the
look
tube
like,
or the pile.
And so when we got these originally, the lemon ones, we're like, oh, look at all that variation in color. And so, well, we loved it. We're like, great. You took them. You are like, okay, I'm going to make the sample. And then when we ordered for stock, we got this.
Something very
right?
different.
Something a little different.
Yep.
And so we contacted the manufacturer. And Brandon, I don't know if we can get any closer in here. Let's get.
And when
a little
Janice
bit lighter
texted me,
so
I
people
had
can see
literally
it.
walked away from that finished sample. Janice said, "Wait, did you do that?" And I was like, "Yeah, I did."
Yeah, done and done. So what happened with this first batch is when they were made and when the Rembrandt finish was put on them, they were left in the heating chamber too long.
And they're burnt.
So they're not compromised. The integrity of the bead isn't compromised, but the finish is completely different.
Yeah.
So this is actually the lemon
What it's supposed
Rembrandt,
to look like.
what it's supposed to look like. So when we got these, we're like, this must be a mistake. But this,
I actually kind of like that.
I loved this, but it's no more. It's
The limited edition
it was
gone and
it was
gone.
extremely limited, so limited that you have the only one.
Right.
But so
Perfect.
that's how beads just change.
Well,
it's like buying fabric or
I
buying yarn.
gotta say that life can be a little uncertain, and we should take our successes as they come,
Right.
and when it doesn't come, it's the way it goes.
Well, let's take a look at. I'm going to share with you some of the things that I've got.
I'm gonna get set up for laddering while you do that.
and you do that so that we can talk about this. So I'm just waiting for Emily to move that over. Okay, so I've got we carry so many super duos. And so I wanted to share a little bit about Super Duos 101 by Kate Richburg, I guess, is what I want to talk about. And also some of the other things that are in. What do you need?
That
What am
leather
I-
over there.
This one?
Yeah, I think I'll start with that one.
Okay, you need that. What else do you need? Do you need
The
the
super
spiraling?
duos.
These
The ones
these
in that
guys.
little, yeah,
Okay,
perfect.
there you go. So in our super duos, at Bead Shop we carry what's going on?
It's okay. Yeah, no, Brandon was worried that I had too short a piece of leather,
Okay.
but it's actually perfect
Okay, great.
for this reason.
So the super duos, we carry 74 different colors actually of super duos, which is crazy. When I look at the wall, I'm all, that can't be 74. And so it's a check bead, this super duo. And the finishes, all of them are, really permanent and sturdy, and I just love all of the different colors. And they go with like a lot of the other different beads as well. So
Well, they're kind of first cousin to the Picassos,
yeah, right. Like Picassos, there's like this halo finish. This is one of the Picassos, I think. This blue Picasso. So they put these same coatings on, a whole bunch of different beads. The herringbone, I feel. I mean, you could do a lot of things with these super duos, and we've done our pathways bracelets. We've done some different things, but it feels like the herringbone really is the perfect stitch, I guess, is what we want to say for these, because they fit so perfectly.
Yeah, I when we were in Tucson, I managed to nab some quarter Tilas. Tilas, whatever. And I'm kind of looking forward to doing that with them as well.
Yeah.
They're a little bit squared off. The Tila shape is a little more crisp on its corners.
Yeah.
So I think the Super Duos really have that smoothness to them.
Yeah.
And they have a little bit of depth. And it's a nice bead to work with. It's a nice size. There's no struggling with it.
And I saw that you had bought those, and that's something where, if you like them, such a teeny, they're a slim little
So
spacer.
here's the other thing about this project. I was actually really excited to try and do something that was smaller and a little bit more delicate. I have kind of a big wrist. I'm kind of a big person. I like to say I'm big in like a lot of ways. I have a big voice. I have a big brain. I have
Got to get that in there.
absolutely
Totally.
I think I live fairly large, and I like to play with the idea of contrast quite a bit. I think contrast is a way. It's a place where you can add a different kind of design influence into your piece that not everybody kind of thinks about right away. You know, we can contrast by black and white, light and dark, matte and shiny, all those things.
Big and small.
Big and small. Big and small for me is a really fun kind of contrasting thing. And I have my necklace on with my pearls and my tiny little size 11 seed beads. So that has that contrast thing going on for me. That's one of those points that I like about it.
Yeah, the contrast.
So working with the 0.5 leather was something I really wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I had done around on the bead shop site. Don't get me wrong. I like to do a little research. And you had also, I think, talked to me about this as a way of starting laddering thread to get your thread attached to your ladder was to use a little macrame. And I thought I would do this actually with leather, just to sort of show you what it would look like, and then I'll switch out the leather and do it with the fire line.
Okay. I was going to talk about the leather actually just real quick.
Go for it.
And then we can show that.
I'm ready when you are.
So I wanted to share with you guys this as well, because I was, when Emily said, oh, I'm going to use the 0.5 with the bracelet, and I'm all, you haven't laddered, I mean, any of these will work, any of these widths. But I got all of the leathers here in the distressed gray. And you can see it starts over here with the 0.5, and then it goes to the 1, the 1.5, and the 2. And so Emily, what she used, and you can see it right here with the pumpkin, you can see it pretty nicely. This is the 0.5. And I think it's like you were saying with that contrast in size, here it is with the star cut.
Which is the biggest bead.
Which is the biggest bead, yeah. And so it is a real, I guess, a contrast in the size of the bead here. What I like about having like this single color, like the distressed gray, and all of these colors is the different sizes of leather really give a different look to your finished piece, for sure.
Absolutely.
Like, you guys know this is my Kate's favorite bracelet that I wear all the time. This I did on the 2mm. I think I did it on 2. But just like the beads that have differences in, I don't know, finish and stuff, your leather can also vary in size with
quite a bit, and
with each batch that we get in.
I would venture to say with some fair certainty that the 0.5 has more variations than most.
I agree, because you can see, and the 1. You can see this is the 1 right here, this is the 0.5 right here, and they're super close in size, and it's just how it is, how they are, So so that's also something to know.
So one of the things that when I look around at laddered style bracelets, one of the things that I noticed that I didn't love much was the leather kind of overpowering the beads.
Yeah.
And Kate and I go way back in the bead world, and that everything we do is bead related. Beads. The bead is the thing, the bead is the focus. And so for me, that was also a conscious choice in this one. I wanted that bead to be front and center.
Right.
And visible.
Right.
And not something that was taking the second stage or anything like that.
The other thing I also wanted to share before we get to that is I wanted to share a little bit about threads. We also have a quick question from Trish. She wanted to know which Super Duo this one was. This is the red Picasso.
Ugh.
This one here, which is
gorge.
Yeah, that Picasso. And you can see the colors. They're kind of hard to see through the tubes, but it depends on the base bead color. The red, the blue, and this one is called
Give me that red one.
This is actually a Rembrandt. This is the chalk Rembrandt, actually, so it's not a Picasso. But
I'm going to pour this out.
Okay, do it.
Because this is just a beautiful
It's such a beautiful bead.
Mm.
And you can really see
super luscious.
Just that not the Rembrandt, but the Picasso finish on it. And it looks like the difference, at least to my eye, this one's also a Picasso. That's a Rembrandt
Pull the
finish.
Rembrandt out and put it in the bowl.
Let's look at that one. And you can see it looks like the Picasso finish, at least to my eye, it has a little more blue in it. It has a little more of a color variation. The Rembrandt has a lot of shine and kind of an ethereal quality to it, which is cool. The other thing, while I'm thinking about it, I wanted to mention was that when you're laddering with a Super Duo, you want to double check to make sure that both holes are open.
These are coated beads. These beads have, after the bead has been made in a mold and the holes are made, it goes through multiple more processes and then it gets a coating put on. I can promise you there is nothing more frustrating than finding out one of your beads does not have a hole cleared while you're working.
Right, so irritating.
So you know what, I kind of liken these to like little owl faces.
Yeah,
that's what they look like to me.
Yeah, they do, like a little mask.
And I actually take it and I'll poke my needle through both holes before I stitch it.
To just double check
Just to double check.
This one I love. This is the Halo. It's the Halo Magenta, which is really pretty. And that's another coating.
Isn't that really close to this guy?
Yeah, well, this is a Rembrandt.
Oh, that's right.
So if we look at the Rembrandt matted, let's look at that coating. This is the Rembrandt coating that's matted. That's the Rembrandt coating that's shiny. And it makes it look so much different. But again, it's the same coating, just the bead has been matted or left shiny. So that's it. And Maureen's asking about the carnelian.
I think it's actually called agate.
It's under, natural agate. So
if you just look at all the star cuts, there's 11 or 12 or 14 of them,
but it's natural agate star cut. It's in the list, Maureen, if you go over to the ingredients list for, what did you call this one, Emily? You called that
Copper
one
Sunrise?
Copper Sunrise.
Yeah.
That's that one. So while you're getting that set up, I did
I'm
want to
actually
mention,
ready.
You ready?
Yep,
Okay.
whenever
I
you
want to
are.
mention one more thing, though, about thread. You're using Fireline.
Ah, yes.
Right.
Fireline, my
So
favorite.
I want you, I do all of these threads are perfect for infinity stitching.
Sure.
I'm a big fan. We brought this back, this Hana, because Hana really is one of my faves. And that's what I've made this is, again, my Kate's favorite is been on my wrist forever.
Right.
This is laddered with Hana. And the Hana, I laddered it doubled. I have a double thread and laddered it with it. And I really love the way it stood up. I also infinity stitch a lot with KO. And we have not a million, I don't know, 10, something like that, of the KO colors. In the Hana, we have,
I'm just mucking
palette.
with it a little bit.
Okay, we have kind of more of a limited palette. I'm going to cut a little bit of that away of this. But this Pebble is my all-time favorite. Now, the Fireline, when you came on board, and you're like, just give me that Fireline. And so
I don't think you had it till I came on.
No, we didn't. No. So what's up with Fireline for you? Why did you choose Fireline for this project?
You know, I choose Fireline like you might choose Softflex. Fireline is not a flat filament thread like Hana or KO or Nymo, throwing it way back.
Way back, right?
It is not a plied thread like Silamide is, which is like yarn where they twist multiple strands together. That's a little bit like Softflex. Softflex is multiple strands twisted with multiple strands twisted inside. Fireline is actually a braided thread. So if you think of, the easiest analogy I can think of this, if you go to your pair of athletic shoes of any sort, they have a shoelace on them. And that shoelace, whether it be flat or actually round, is braided.
Right, it's woven. It's woven.
It's braided.
It's a braid.
If you think of kumihimo, if you're familiar with kumihimo, that round braid happens by the strands all getting braided into the middle, and that produces really a tube. So that's what Fireline is. Fireline is highly abrasive resistant. So anytime you're talking about stones or metal beads, and I even incorporated, we use the hematite cubes, but the same thing with shadows. If you want to work with something or if you're working with crystal hands down choice, go to, not a problem, going to use it all the time.
When you're laddering with thread breakers.
When I'm laddering with thread breakers, if I was doing this ladder with just some size 6 seed beads or size 8 seed beads or 11s, I would be working along with Hana or KO, whatever kind of is your preference. You know, one of the things
But this was also familiar to you too. You know, you had
I've been
that
using
history.
it for years.
Yeah, with Firelight is what I'm going to go with.
You know, I really appreciated coming and doing this particular project, and I have to say that sometimes I don't take direction very well.
No, I can't imagine that.
And when I don't take direction very well, I'm trying to say gently, I don't like people telling me what to do. But saying I don't take direction very well is that nice way of saying that I sort of like to do my own thing. And one of the things I've noticed over the 20 odd years that I've been making beaded jewelry is that I'm kind of circling back around to how I used to do things originally.
Right.
I went out there and said, oh my God, I cannot wait to collect every trading card in this whole game.
Right.
I want to know how to do every technique. I want to try every material. I want to have every tool. I want all those things.
All of it.
And these experiences have really led me into some really amazing things.
Yeah.
But I know that editorially and certainly in my own personal work, the things that make me the happiest and things I like doing the best
Are sometimes the simplest.
I'm circling back around, right? I'm coming right back around to where I started. If I had started this and known about as many cool pearls that I could have gotten, I would have made this necklace the first beaded jewelry.
Right.
And so it's sort of exciting to bring to bear or to bring home on some projects the ideas that I've really kind of gathered from all this time, and the experience that I've gathered. You know, really you only gain experience by doing and either succeeding or not succeeding at something.
Right.
And so if that's the case, then I'm always happy to try something new. But I also like to try it in my own way.
Yeah, in your own way. And that's kind of what I want to walk down just the design of these so everybody knows kind of what you're going to do next. So I've laid these 3 up. So Brandon, I don't know if you've got all of these.
Looks like she's got them. Yeah, she's going to fit them in
great. So what I've got, so this, I just wanted to make sure that everyone was on the same page with which samples were which. And so starting down here, starting up at the top, that one's Stormy Water, is that right?
This one is, no.
Stormy Water.
Okay.
And then I've got
Copper Sunrise.
Copper Sunrise, and then I've got Sand and Water down here.
This is actually Stormy Water, and this is Sand and...
well, not how we have it on the... So Sand and Water is this one. Yeah,
that's what I
right.
said.
Yeah, that's right. Sand and Water. Don't get me confused.
I didn't.
And
I didn't.
Copper Sunrise, and then
Stormy Water.
Stormy Water, which is this one right here. So what you did was you chose a mixture of, and each of these has the same elements in it. It has a Delica, it has a Star Cut, it has a 4mm, it has a Super Duo,
and it has
a hematite. Now, what the thing that we love these, what we call the cornerless cube or the cut cubes in the hematite, and you can see it here in this one, that matte is in the rose gold, and then we have this one in that matte blue. That's the what's that color? I'm looking to see. That's the matte silver. What's that one? The matte metallic blue is this one. Unfortunately, the I guess the supply of these always
limited.
Aren't super available. So we do carry them, and you've seen them on the website. We've got a lot of these guys are the white. Which ones are these? These are the white silver
and metallic. I love that metallic iris.
That metallic iris is really pretty too. So we've got a lot of these right now. We always carry them. So unfortunately, hopefully the rose gold is coming someday. But so we had to pivot. We had to make a substitution. So we did. And
I have something to say about those.
I'm sure you do, as always. We have, so here are the copper little shadows. And here is that hematite rose gold. So you can see they're very, very similar. The little shadow is a little rougher of that, But stay tuned. If you really love this rose gold, just put yourself on the notification list and it'll be in eventually, right? But that's what this one's the rose gold, and then that's the copper little shadow.
Can I tell you what I like about these beads?
Yeah.
I think that the cornerless cube, if we use this as the generic name, right? This is a square bead where the corners have been chopped off, and it gives you a different kind of look than a cube. A cube would be very squared and very...
Right, have those
it would
edges.
it wouldn't curve very nicely. And the cornerless cubes gives you the ability to have something have a little bit of a bend to it, a little bit more gracefully and graciously. You know, we look at them on these long strands and they look one way. And when we stitch them down into the ladder, you see this diamond pattern kind of appearing, which I really love.
Yeah.
I really love to see that shape. And this was part of the same thing with the star cuts, you know. I love the star cuts, and my eye, because I've done so much beading, I can look at something and sort of assess how it might look in a few different situations.
Right, and how it looks together.
Right. And I think what gets missed a little bit is how cool these look kind of on their sides and kind of flat. I wore a piece today, which I'm hoping that we'll do soon, which I peyote stitched shadows, and again with Guess Fireline, so that I could kind of show what they look like again sitting sort of side by side, and you get to see a different side to these, literally a different aspect of how those beads kind of look.
Yeah, they're really cool.
Yeah.
And we have also peyote stitched with these cornerless cubes as well.
I love it.
They're
I love it.
really
I've done it
cool
as a
bead.
ring. I've done it as a bracelet.
They're really a cool
bunch
bead.
of stuff.
So we also, in these, you also chose kind of an interesting bead for
My transitions.
for the transitions. So if you're going to do this piece in leather that's heavier,
Right.
you need to not use these beads for
Correct.
your transition
Yeah.
because they're too small.
They're too small. But I actually can show you something that I taught myself at the very end.
Of
And
course.
I snuck it in there, and you didn't call me on it, so I was waiting to hear if you noticed it or not.
Right.
This silver leather is quite variable in size.
Yeah, it is.
It really doesn't have the same shape. And these metal beads also have variations on their holes. So I did a little variation on a theme here, which I snuck in as my transition at the end here, just because I came up with that as I was going along.
Yeah, they're cool.
And I kind of liked how those beads sort of nested together and gave me that little bit of transition there. If you didn't want to do a transition bead there, you could just do a little macrame with your thread.
Yeah.
That's fine. I mean, I think I have no worries with that.
And what you're going to have to do, because I'm kind of playing around with these, you're going to have to...
Oh, I have a trick for that. I'll show you in a
great.
minute.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's take a look at what you've got going on
Okay.
there. How we begin.
How we begin. You know,
Let me get rid of these guys.
I think we all have our favorite way of attaching to a board for working. And you know, my favorite really is to use the tiny clamps and a spool. Tiny clamps and a spool underneath them to kind of attach this leather to a board. The using it in the short way is I think the easiest way when I'm demonstrating.
So
I would normally use it in the long way. Long way. Can I have back one of those spools that you just took away, the Hana or the what did you do with them? Oh, thanks, Brandon. Sorry, I didn't think they were going to go quite so far.
So I kept them handy.
So I threaded on a button, and this happened to be the little peekaboo, which is unfortunately in closeouts, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it.
Not.
I think it is.
No, it's not. Trust me.
All right.
No, it is not.
Again, going with the theme of picking something that was in a small size button to kind of balance with this, the peekaboo and
We use this
Josie.
button.
That's right. Having those two were kind of appropriate sized for me, and I wanted to kind of keep that button on the small side.
The other button that would work really well for this, it's called that we carry, is button eyes.
Yeah.
That was what I kept thinking of in my head.
Yeah, we've been out for it for a little while, but it's coming back in. We have it on order, and that's this guy. That's this
and you know,
guy
my
here.
good friend Kate Richburg
That's
makes
me.
really awesome buttons
I do.
for things. And I have an idea to float to her after the show, and we'll see if it comes back.
in all of my spare time.
Well, it's not
Good-
going to
good
require.
one.
It's not going to require, but a very few minutes of your
Oh,
life.
I love that.
And
Ben, I love that.
it's going to
that
be
talk.
it's going to be super exciting. You're going to like
Right,
it,
I love it.
right?
Okay.
So
So what do we do next?
I just took my little clips.
And those are your clampers.
Those
we
are my
carry
little
them. Ours
clampers.
are red, but
You know, this was
those
one
are
I
the
brought
old
with
ones.
me
Yeah.
from home, and I just attach it to the board on one side. On the long board, I actually attach the leather, I wrap it all the way around on my long piece of leather, and to attach up here so that I can hold it in my lap, kind of without anything poking at me. And another clip down here, and so this is pretty snug. But to get a little space to work under it, I just slip a spool under there.
slip your
Any
under.
spool, any
Right.
spool you
Or
got.
if you have a short dowel or something. that'll
Yeah,
work too.
yeah. Extra. Well, no, I think a spool.
A
You need
spool?
the height of a spool.
Okay.
The height.
Well, I'm talking about, I have a lot of dowels.
Not everyone has a lot of dowels
I know,
floating
it's
around.
true. It's true.
So research for this particular project, and for doing my research for laddering with two threads, where we do the stitching back and forth, which I kind of call laddering, and then I
Right,
call this
traditional laddering.
infinity.
Infinity.
I loved Janice's idea of attaching your small thread with macrame. This makes a ton of sense. So I threaded my fire line through a size 10 needle. I doubled my thread. Much more durable for double. Love me some double.
Yeah, I always double for this
Right?
infinity.
And I waxed it. So ran it down some beeswax. You know, if you have a beeswax bar, cut a little chunk of it off with a big heavy knife and set it aside for when you're working with light colored threads, so it's not dirty.
Right.
The fire line, the dark color fire line, the smoke,
Does
it has a little bit of dustiness to it, and it'll make your wax look a little funky, and it may dirty up your white thread. That's always kind of a concern when you're working with light colored threads. Now I'm going to first demonstrate this with a piece of leather so it's visible, and then I'll demonstrate it with the fire line.
So this is how you're going to affix your thread for laddering.
Yes.
I mean for infinity.
And for infinity, right? I'm going to take my piece of leather, and this is just a scrap that I'm using to demonstrate. I've slid it underneath, and I'm going to macrame.
And we've got a lot of, if you go to beadshop.com and you go to our skill builders, we have a great how to macrame tutorial.
Yes.
So
And you know what? In this case, if you were to do the macrame where it's all on one side,
the spiral.
it really wouldn't make any difference at all, right?
So you're just doing simple flat macrame knots. And again, you would normally do this with, you could use Ceylon or whatever.
Actually, I would do this. This is the beginning that I'm going to do with my fire line here.
With
in a
your
minute.
fire line. Okay, I understand.
Okay.
Okay.
So this is just to demonstrate that stitch
Okay,
again. And
okay.
you know, I find one of the things I notice when I watch Bead Shop at home is sometimes it's hard to see when it gets really small. And we're kind of talking small here.
Right.
So I think this is well worth kind of having that little bit of bigger tutorial, right? Everybody good with that? I'm gonna assume
Yes.
yes.
Excellent.
And you
So
know,
we're
to
gonna
pull
take
that
that off.
apart, I'm just gonna slide it all apart, easy peasy, using my awl, because the awl is like my favorite no moving parts tool, right? And pull that away.
So now you're gonna macrame, and I do this a lot. I macrame, whatever I'm starting out with, whatever
Yep. I'm gonna macrame with my fire line.
So you can see the open ends are on this side, and her needle is on that.
Right. And it doesn't, you know what, it doesn't really matter which end you start with at all for this. Okay. You will be macrameing with the needle flopping around, so, you know, pay a little attention to that. And one thing I found was that I could actually kind of make it easy on myself by macrameing not right up against the button to start. And I think about 4 or 5 knots is probably sufficient. 4 or 5 halves. I always think of these knots as a pair. And so that's 2 halves, 1 full knot. And wiggle around another one, that's a third. And a fourth. And if I were to forget my P's and Q's here, which side I was working on, and I ended up with a couple side by side that were not quite correct, no one's going to know, it's not going to show, and it won't matter. Not one iota.
And so one of the things, if I can share with you, if you always do your knot, like if you start on this side and you always make that loop with here, and I'm sure you were doing that already, and you tie the knot with this side, your needle
I know. I just
isn't
don't.
flopping.
I just don't worry about it.
Yeah.
So
Well, it's just so then you won't hit yourself in the head with that needle.
that's all right. So once I've gotten about 5 knots on, I'm actually going to loosen up everything I've got here, and I'm going to slide those knots right up to my button. And you know, Janice has many words of wisdom that I have taken on as my own. Having a little bit of air here, a little bit of movement is really a little bit more graceful and gracious. So I would opt for that. Now, I tend to let this tail go for now. If you felt like you wanted to deal with it right this minute, I would thread this onto a needle, and I'm going to take this last little bit of tail, and I'm going to thread my needle back up through through those knots, right in between the 2 pieces of leather.
So it'll really
pull it right in there, kind of like a silk wrap. Yep, and you can dot a little bit of glue on it if you want. I didn't bother, so no glue in any of my bracelets.
Right.
No glue. No glue. Don't need it. So I'm going to reclip, and you'll do a little bit of reclipping each time. Every time you change threads, every time you change bead types, you may have to adjust and reclip, and that's okay.
So let me ask you this. So you've done that. So how long is that? You just want to? Do you want to clear the button when you do that macrame?
You know what? I don't even
Maybe
worry
make it
too
a
much.
little bit
I don't
longer,
even. No.
Okay.
I just do a little attachment.
Okay.
I'm just worried about getting my thread on there first.
Right.
So, infinity was the thing that was kind of new to me, and also herringbone stitch with our super duos was also a little bit new to me. So I did go and look at the other projects, and I really liked the projects with the extra bead in it, but it didn't really fit into my my idea of kind of keeping it super simple. You know that KISS thing? Used to be a good phrase of my mom's that she really liked. You know, let's keep it super simple. And to me, that was kind of what this one was about. You know, keeping it sort of simple, letting the bead shine. The leather was going to be kind of small. So I'm going to separate my 2 legs of leather here. And I've ended up with my needle on my left-hand side. This doesn't matter too much, but I tend to work left to right.
Right.
And
Because you're right-handed.
Because I'm right-handed. One of the things that also kind of came to my mind as I was doing this is that really infinity stitching is just looming. And I love to loom. You know, I've loomed handbags. I've made some beautiful pieces.
I love the looming
so
too.
really infinity stitching, and I think I wasn't so intimidated by it, but I didn't really have the rhythm of it yet. Infinity stitch is simply looming without the loom.
Right. Looming without, that's right.
It really is. That's all it is. So don't be intimidated by it. I've got some super duos here, and I'm going to bring them in to start working with them. I've always liked to lay my beads out, not dip them out of a little dish, but I am going to just take a quick little peek at some of these and make sure that I've got clear holes. And there's really 2 things we can do with infinity stitch. We can start off with a pair of beads, or we can actually ease into this with a 1 bead start if you want. It's
And
really
I've got it here.
There it is.
I'm trying to show it. There it is. So here's the open pair.
Yep.
And here's the 1 bead.
Yep. So I could also slide on these copper spacers under here if I wanted to, or silver spacers. You know, either way.
We'll do that at the end. We'll show how to do them
Yeah,
at
I'll
the
do
end.
a little bit at the end. So I'm going to
So let's start with that one.
Okay, I'm going to
I
pick
like
up a
the way
super
that
duo,
looks.
right? And I'm going to slide it along here. And I actually found that for me the easiest thing was to go under my right hand leg of leather and let my bead sort of fall in there. This feels to me very much like looming, right? And I'm going to go over then that leg through the same hole. And this was the key for working with super duos and herringbone. You're going to always pass through the same hole you came through, right?
And so that's the top hole you're working with now.
And I'm going to slip under that original
Let's see if
leg
we can
on the
get
left.
that a little tighter, Brandon.
Is it caught up? I think I already did.
Okay.
Okay. And I'm going to slide this along, pull it down, and slide it up to my start.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, if you find and feel that this is a little bit cramped or a little bit crunched up here at the beginning, it is. And muscle through. It's only 2 stitches, or 3 maybe, before you get to something with a little bit more elbow room. Okay. So now my thread is coming out from underneath
The top hole.
right
Through the top hole.
through the top hole, so the upper hole here, lower hole here, and my thread's coming out from underneath the leather. I want to continue with this so that I'll get the same wrap all the way along. And if you unboard your project while you're doing it, take it off the board. Take a moment to make sure that you're putting it back on the same way.
Right.
Word to the wise. I've been down that road a couple times, right? So now I'm going to add a pair of beads on either side of this one to give me that herringbone look.
Right. Okay. So you don't go back through yet. Now's the time to add your beads.
No, I'm going for it.
Okay, let's do it.
All right. I'm going to pick up 1 bead. I'm going to pass through that upper hole and pick up another bead. Now, if I can, at this same moment, without taking multiple stitches here, I'm just going to slip right under that leg. And like looming, if I keep my finger under here, and what am I tangled up on? Oh, for Pete's sake.
On your clip.
There we go.
Let me get this out of the way.
Thank you.
Sorry.
If I keep my finger holding my thread and beads underneath the leather, it's a little easier for me to pull it right through.
And this always feels a little bit, like our friend Mary says, like the dog's breakfast.
I feel like it's a little bit wet cat at first.
So you kind of have to just stick through it there. But see how Emily is making sense, just pulling those beads and tension, not the tension that you feel making the stitch, but the actual tension of the beads themselves.
The sweat I'm feeling under this hot lamp that I'm sitting under.
Under this hot lamp, that's right. But see how she's kind of coaxed those into place. Now all of the holes are lined up. So remember, she's gone this one, this one, and this one. So she has to come now back through those beads. Right.
And I have to dip under the leather on this side. Right? Because I want to wrap around the top. There we go. There's a good view. So
remember that the hole that you pass from left to right through, you have to come around the leather and then go back the way you came, pass from right to left through that same hole.
Yep. So when we're doing this first transition, we're first getting this laddering going. I'm actually going to add my beads on the outside of this first bead. From here on out, I'm actually going to go through this hole, and then pick up 2 beads, and then go through that next one. So it's a little bit different than.
So you're putting on that one. Now you're picking up a bead.
2 beads actually.
2 beads.
2 beads.
What?
I'm going through here.
Oh, see, this is where.
So now they're going to be laying in.
Right, there's 2 because it's really easy for you guys to see that in this piece. Can you see how here's the 2, then it goes through here, here's the 2. So you're actually going now through 4 holes.
Correct.
Ay. All right.
Does that make it help? Does that help you a little bit?
Yeah.
So one of the things that I really like multiples of something, and with the color palettes that we like to do, we make multiples, is that it gives you the time to kind of be, it's kind of boring in a way because you're doing the same thing over and over and over again. But that's okay because you learn so much by that repetitive nature of it all that, oh my God, you're like, oh my God, that worked.
Right. And one of the things, so Emily's making a little sampler here of this herringbone stitch so you can see how it goes together. One of the things that I teach in my metalworking classes is we do a lot of these techniques on little samplers. So if you are unfamiliar with the herringbone stitch, just make a little sampler until it feels really like second nature. This out too.
Okay. I meant to, and I just kind
That's
of
okay.
had other things going on in
No,
life,
I'm
you
going
know.
to have you graph it out too for people to see. But see how essentially once you have it established, we've gone through one bead up here, now the 2 beads.
And getting your needle back through these guys
Mhm.
is it takes a little step or two.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes I'll be happy to get 2. Then I can go and get these 2. And I'm going to nip underneath the leather.
Because
Try
we want
not
to
to
see
pierce it.
that thread path.
Right. Right underneath there.
Mm-hmm.
And it's kind of clicking along now.
Yeah, that looks
Right.
great. So let's add, let's see if we can get, Brandon, I want you to get as close as you can to this because I want to point this out. This is something that, and this is why I stay away from this flippin' herringbone all the time because I can't always see it. But see how Emily's thread path here, she goes through this bead, through these 2, through these, and then back, right?
So same holes every time.
The same holes. Now it feels like, right, there's a little bit of space there. So in my mind, I'm like, I'm going to add my bead there, and then I'm going to add another bead there. That's not what you do.
Mm-mm.
This just flanges out, touches the leather,
and you tuck those
and
2 in there.
you tuck the 2 in between that little chevron. So you're making a little series of chevrons as you go down.
Yep.
So will you...
Here, and this is what I found both with infinity stitch and with laddering for this type of stitch. If you make a mistake, this is what you do.
Mm-hmm.
You open this up.
Oh.
And that loosens everything enough
that you can see what's wrong.
Yeah, and you can pick it apart also. Because sometimes you just can't get it in there. You've pulled it too tight. You know, when I loom weave, I have a rhythm that I do when I finish the row. I tug at a certain tension. And I've developed that by not saying what's right or wrong, but picking what I really liked. If you warp your things on the loom so tightly that your warp threads are stretching, you end up with buckling later.
Right, once you
And if you pull too tightly, your edges wow in and out, and that's not what you want either. And this is kind of the same thing. It has some of the same properties. You don't really want this to be so tight that it stretches enough and everything buckles later. You want to have a little bit of medium tension. And it really looks better when I get an inch or 2 done.
Yeah, and so let's add just a couple more so people can see how that's going, to see that tension.
Over here. So I like to I put my needle in one hole and I tip it up so I can see the light through the other hole. So I know it's got 2.
So you want to go through this hole first, right?
Thank you, Kate.
Okay. You were just testing those holes.
I was just checking that you were watching for me.
I am.
Right?
I got you. So see how when Emily goes through that first hole, you can see that super duo is now latched down. And that little space that's in between is a pretty big chevron space that the 2 will easily fit through.
We lost the connection to Facebook.
And so as has it come back?
This one, we lost what we had
Let's
last
see.
time.
Oh, well, it says we're still live streaming, so we'll just keep going. So as we go through, we're going to come back through.
And I think this is easiest in 2 steps, right? So I went under the leather here on the right-hand side, came out. I'm going through 2 holes that I've already been through before, and 2 more. Again, I've already been through them. And I'm going to go under the leather. Okay?
And there you have it.
And really, if you wanted to finish this off properly, like when I do bead embroidery, it's always sort of bringing your needle to the top level that allows you to go to the next step. So my step previous wasn't quite finished until I got to this next step.
So I'm going to push the camera down just a little bit and get it a little closer to you.
Right.
There we go, so we can see that.
And again, I would do this with my board resting on the table upright in front of me. So I would not be having the difficulty you probably are seeing me have.
Caught
Tangle on my ensemble.
I'm just going to get it in as tightly as I can there.
See how I'm going through that same hole and underneath and out. go through that
Mhm.
second hole.
And so you're using a size 10 needle. I
Mhm.
think you mentioned that a little bit.
It's a little
earlier, but-
easier to thread the fire
Mhm.
line on because the fire line is
Yep.
round and it does not flatten nicely like
Mhm.
your Hana or your KO would do it. You're going to want to use a slightly larger needle. Dakota Stones makes us have easy times,
Mhm.
right? So there's 2 and 2 more.
Up, right? So
Right.
it's at that angle.
Mm-hmm. And if you really want to be in a good way, especially if you were planning to put this down for a moment,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and this I would do with peyote stitch or anything else.
Mm-hmm.
Get rich
Mm-hmm.
before
Set yourself up.
for success
Mhm.
before you move on or put your work down.
Mm-hmm.
So I really like how the thread shows a little bit on the outside here. I
Yeah,
like
I mean,
that
it's
it's
just-
super consistent
Yeah,
looking.
and because you have been so careful with your tension,
Mhm.
you're not doing anything too tight or too loose.
Right. I'm being consistent and really, you know, with double thread, I see a little bit of a loop over there, it makes me want to kind of pull on each
Tighten it.
one
Yeah,
individually.
see if you can get it.
If I
There
can
it
get rid of
goes.
it. There it goes. Because I want everything to slide nicely.
And so how would you add with your thread, how much thread did you cut initially?
You know, I cut something like about 3 yards.
Mm-hmm.
So double, that made it about 1.5 yards.
Mm-hmm.
And I was getting through 1 to 2 sections depending on
Right.
the stitch I was doing with
Okay. And then when you added thread,
that.
you
Started just like I did at the beginning.
right.
Or there was a
Mhm.
couple times where I had to add. I'm glad you're asking me because maybe it means you couldn't spot where I did it.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
Rue.
Perfect.
So let's talk about that.
Okay. Well, let me find one for you. I think there's one on this one that will. Maybe it's not this guy. Maybe it is this one.
Oops, sorry, the camera is a little shaky.
I can't even always find it, which is that's good news. You know, I mean, I did okay. Yeah, here's one right here. It's joined right here.
So we move this out of the way.
Sure, why don't we
real
just
quick?
move it over,
Yep.
and then we'll have this clear space. Somewhere along here,
Mm-hmm.
can you find where I changed threads?
Let me see if I can get you in the
Focus.
shot here. I have to wait for the camera to catch up with
Mhm.
me. So keep going. Yeah, you're good. I can
Right.
see.
So right here is where I actually added.
Mm-hmm.
So it's visible,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not hugely. I had gotten this far, and I thought, oh my God, I'm not going to undo all of that
Mm-hmm.
to get to fix this guy. So I actually changed threads the way I do in seed beading.
Mm-hmm.
I dropped one thread,
Mm-hmm.
and I brought a new thread in and followed the same path.
Right, so you just wove it out and wove it in.
Wove it out, wove it in.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, and motored on my way.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. When I get down to one of these transitions and add the little are these stepping stones? No, these
No.
are another travel hishi.
Mm-hmm.
When I got to that step, I actually put my needle right through them, came out on the other side, made sure only that I wrapped around the same direction, and then just motored on my way.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. No big deal here.
No big deal.
No big deal.
So that hides that.
Yep.
So let's I want to look at this one because there are a couple of people are asking the question, and I want to look at this. And I think I know the answer. I think it's just a tension issue. But these little guys right here, how your first 2 super doughs
Oh, you know
look a
what?
little
I did
funny.
it wrong.
Oh, okay.
I did it wrong.
So that's how you know.
Yep. It shouldn't be popping out like
Right.
that at all.
So what you didn't
something
do.
is wrong here.
So see here, I think
You tell me.
what we went through these.
I think I might have gone through the wrong hole at the distance.
Yep. So here you went around. I think we're missing.
Oh, it may be just a tension thing.
Yeah, I think because these need to be pulled up just a
Yeah.
little bit higher. I think.
No,
right?
something's not right.
Right.
Something's rotten in Denmark. Sorry, Gita.
Hmm.
Huh. I don't know. I'd have to take it apart again.
Hmm.
Yeah, something's rotten in Denmark.
Oh, I
here.
can see it right there.
Did I
see
miss
how,
a hole?
See how this is coming down? that little,
Oh yeah.
see that? So you should have gone back through. You
I
popped
did.
down.
I dropped down a hole.
You dropped
Sorry,
down a
I
hole.
missed a hole.
Yep. But that's
Good sign.
how you know.
Yeah.
Good job that people are.
Thanks, everybody.
Yeah, are doing that. Yeah. So just make sure the path. See, Emily should have come back through with this strand and gone through those top ones, but instead she popped down and went through there. So that was the issue.
Yeah.
That's
Yep.
was the issue with it.
Yeah, it's working out farther than my focal
That's right.
distance. For
I know.
Sure.
It's hard. It's hard to do that. Sometimes to do that
Distance,
the stitch,
yeah.
and you're like, wait a minute, I can't see what's going on.
I can't see what I'm doing.
So show me how.
I'm such a troublemaker. Unstranding these, and you get a big strand, is that the holes, if you flip them from one side to the other, the holes are actually different sizes.
Mm-hmm.
So one side of the hole is bigger, one side is smaller.
Mm-hmm.
Bigger, smaller. So what I did was I put 3, picking out 3 that had good size holes, on any leg of leather.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're calling these guys legs.
And you guys, just also, Drea will have the episode notes up for you guys as well. So she'll break down everything that we've got going on here. And I think also, you put that second pair of beads was on the inside. Yeah, it was on the inside.
I'll do another compare and contrast here in a minute.
We'll do it.
And we'll get it right. So I put 3 beads on, and I looked at the holes to try and have the holes, the larger side of the holes, going towards my work.
Mm-hmm.
Then I brought along, can you pass me, do you have your Xuron cutters?
I do.
Thank you. And I cut my leather on an angle. And 1 bead at a time, I fed them through. Now I might also need your chain nose pliers.
There it goes. Look at that.
Yep. Chain nose pliers, please?
Yep. Do you want straight chain nose?
Yes, please.
Emily likes a fiddly little thing. But see how...
I do. Because I'm stubborn that way. And you can sometimes push it through from the other side too.
And when you're angle cutting,
I'll cut that one more
these
time.
guys, yeah, you can really angle cut it at a super steep.
Get out of my head. You
right?
read my mind.
I know. But that's how you angle cut. That's how you make things fit.
Yep. And I even did a little bit of sort of mutzing with this with my thumbnail. And inched it right in there.
Yep. See how Emily has a nice piece now to hang on to? That makes it a little bit easier. You could also really
You have your tweezers over there? Oh no, never mind.
I've got 'em right here.
Nope, never
You
mind.
want 'em? You can get your bead reamer and ream these separate out just a little bit.
You know, I looked
There
at
it
that, and really, if you just aim from the big side to the small side, it takes a moment, you know. If you want to take a breather at this point and get up and get a drink of water or unload the dishwasher or do something else in your life to break up your work, that's always a good thing.
Yeah, see, there they go. They're going through just fine. You could also, again, you could use the Chirahishi as well. It does hold. But I like these tribal hishi because they're kind of fat little donuts.
Well,
right?
I liked that. I also sort of like that they're not perfectly consistent, and I'm not perfectly consistent. So
make sure and stay under the lens.
yeah,
'Cause I
I'm
can't.
doing my best to move back over here.
Okay.
So one trick I did get myself into trouble with a couple of times was pulling on these legs one at a time. You really want to even this up and ooch these guys That's another technical term. Ooch them right up. And no matter whether you have done a decrease here or you've left it a little bit fatter,
Mm-hmm.
I did leave a little air
Mm-hmm.
every time I did it. The silver. I think that those coated leathers are going to lose a little bit of shine as they get worn anyway. Absolutely.
That connection. And all Emily's really going to do at this point, and what you can do, and let me.
I'm going to
guess.
I'm going to finish this off
Okay.
as if this was the end here, right? So here's the advantage of putting things on a board. You don't have to hold on to them quite so fiddly. And this row, I was done with Herringbone and moving on.com. I would just be doing exactly the same thing right here. And I would scooch my transition beads here up. See, pulling on one lay that leather, I still didn't learn my lesson. Leave a little bit of air, take my needle and thread, pop it right through those beads as if it was meant to be. And see, it makes that nice little wrap, that same sort of wrap that I had before. And when I come out through those transitions, I'm going to dip under that left-hand leg again. And now I'm really ready to rock.
And I know through feed I see that people are, if there's a little bit of an issue with the feed at all, don't worry about it, you guys. You can always watch it on replay, and it'll be an uninterrupted stream. So thanks for sticking with us through this.
Hanging in.
Yeah. And so we're going to start this one again. You've got your clip. There's your other clip. Okay. Up just a hair. Yep, there we go. And I'm going to try and follow you with this camera.
I'm going to move a couple things away from here.
Sure.
I saw someone in the feed said, move everything out of the way. And it's like, yes, you're in my head. Who said that? Who said that? Because you're right. Everything that could get tangled will. And so just get it out of your road so that you have this clear workspace to work in. And of course, at home, I have my dog at my feet, and I got my coffee, and I'm really kind of relaxed.
Right, and
I'm
ready.
Really, no one's watching over my shoulder. And
Right.
Brandon's not pressuring me with
no
pictures
camera.
and gesturing off camera. No, I'm kidding. I'm just kidding, guys. Okay.
So now you've picked up your single super duo. Okay. I'm going to try and get in real tight here, you guys. Okay. So Emily's just gone with her thread path from left to right, and then back from right.
I'm going to pick up.
So now we're establishing the two herringbone pieces, right? So the first 3 rows are a little bit different here. And we go through that center. I can't wait to herringbone.
Now.
Right now.
Right.
I want to make them right now.
So I'm a big believer in holding on to stuff while I'm doing it. So I'm going to go through here. And I'm sorry that my big fat finger's kind of in the way. Oh.
There we go. And so see, now that's the top holes. Now Emily's going under the leather.
And I'm going to pause here for just a minute to re-clip. So don't go away. We'll be right back, as they like to say.
There
Get
we
my
go.
threads.
Tighten that up. Re-clip.
Take my spool out. So a couple of things that happened to me, which I would hope not happen to you.
Mm-hmm.
When you're clipping on your board, do not clip over your delica beads.
Mm-hmm. Because that delica will chip.
Disappointing because I had so moved on.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Right?
So now this is where we go back through and we're going to pick up now our 2 super duos. And again, we'll check for the holes. Peru. And then we'll go through.
Just having a little deja vu moment again.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right.
There we go. So now Emily's going to come back through.
I'm going to go under that line. Always under.
And we're going to go, now she's just going through that same thread path as she did before. 1, 2, 3,
I wonder if I didn't go under
and
the
4.
I wonder if I didn't go under the leather on that one too.
Yeah,
I
could
think
have
that
been.
might have been the other thing.
Hard to say. That's why you have to come back to Facebook Live more often, Emily.
Ugh.
So you stay in
So I
stay in practice.
Stay in practice.
So now,
Much better.
Here we go. Perfectly.
Yeah.
And
I think I didn't go under the leather.
either that, or you may have missed one of the
I think I didn't go under
things.
the leather.
But you guys can see, it's splayed out kind of funny, so it wasn't right.
Mm-mm.
So now you're going to come back through, and
Finishing that stitch.
yeah, you'll go through there. You'll do nice and finished.
Okay. Check those holes.
Mm-hmm.
With the first batch of super duos that I got that I used, that were the much more colorful ones, I really did kind of pick and choose to make sure they were as mixed and mingled as I could manage.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't do that after that.
Mm-hmm.
But that was the one that seemed much more, unusual to me because it didn't really look, even at the time I sort of thought about it while I was doing it. And then Janice called me the minute I'd finished that. Literally, she texted me and she said, hold on, there's a dial-out issue. And I said, too late.
Too late.
Josephine.
So,
Yep.
but there it is. And that's how you just establish it, and then you continue on.
Yep.
I know, it looks nice. I like this stitch.
I do too. And like I said, this wasn't something, I don't know that I would have picked this up for myself.
Mm-hmm.
But it was really, like I said, I don't like people telling me what to do.
Mm-hmm.
Who does,
what a
really?
surprise.
Who does, right? But it was super interesting to be able to put my own spin on this and to work on my own this too.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to try and get a little bit tighter while you're not
Okay.
while you're not
Not
stitching.
moving. Okay.
Yeah.
Can I
good.
straighten it up just a little bit
Yeah.
to the screen so it's a little bit
There we
clear?
go.
There we go.
Looks good. Looks good.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to just kind of go through the rest of this pattern. I'm gonna pull the camera up just a little bit. We're gonna run over just a hair, but it's always
that time already?
a treat
Holy
to
cow.
have. I know, it goes by so quick.
Right.
But we for this one. And so it looks like you started each of these, and each of the projects over on beadshop.com has the project map, I guess, is what we want to call it. I was gonna like the aerial view of the piece, so you can kind of follow along to see how it goes. But you started with the super duos.
You know what I did first actually was I sat down with my star cut beads and I organized them.
You organize those
So
first.
size. There was a couple of leftovers here or there, but it was pretty much an equal in
Mhm.
size. I also tend to work with a length that's just about my wrist rotation,
Mhm.
so or my wrist length, so about 7 inches.
Mhm.
I did add a little extra at the end on a couple of them, and I
Mhm.
added a double button loop just so
Mhm.
that you can do whichever makes you happy.
Mhm.
Now I know we've talked about measurement ad nauseum,
Mhm.
here, and so the next section, and guess how many sections there are in each one of these?
I don't know. You tell me. I'm sorry. I'm not
Just
counting.
guess how many
I don't
sections.
know. 6. I have to count. Sorry, Em.
Thank you,
2.
Brandon got it.
Sorry, I'm too busy
She
looking
would've
at all
done
the
3.
screens.
You would have done 3. How many did I do?
How many did you do?
5. Come on.
Oh,
Get what
God.
the
Okay. Sorry, I'm too busy watching.
This one is
right.
this is a checkerboard. So I used the Delica and the cornerless cube. This happens to be the hematite. And alternating back and forth, it makes everything nestle and nest really, really nicely. So the companion to this is actually done with the beautiful labradorite. And
So it's the same pattern.
same pattern, yeah.
It's just a contrast in the bead size.
And this also has just a little bit of open work, so a little bit of air. Going on the idea of having a lighter, smaller profile and a lighter, smaller effect. I really liked this a lot. And this has a nice little bit of depth to it, which I think was kind of fun. So the checkerboard repeats. The herringbone is the number 3 space in the middle of the group. And then here's my other ombre section of the star cuts. The star cuts to me are just really a lovely bead. They really are. And I think this shows them off in a really kind of fun way. And I did 3 spacers in between each. 3 is a little bit more balanced, and 3 at the end. The knots that I do at the end typically are a surgeon's knot style knot. So if I take my 2 strands of leather at the end, for instance, here's my example. I wrap around, feed end through twice, and
especially with that.
As that pulls itself
0.5
down, it really kind of looks like a really sweet little extra bundle of knot. And then another one.
It also makes the knot go straight through.
Yeah,
rather
the
than
cords
curving off.
Yeah, the
the
cords
side.
kind of even out this way, so they're on both sides.
Yeah, that looks real nice.
Yeah, I kind of like that a lot. And then trim the ends a little bit.
It looks good.
For sure. And so each one of these follows the same pattern. Starts with the star cut, right? And goes to the checkerboard.
And that's the Delica, and in this case it has the cornerless cube, but we've also substituted the little shadow.
And on a very small personal note, when I did these, I would absolutely try and make the ombres go in opposite directions, just like this.
From dark to light and light to dark.
Yeah, because then when you wear it, it actually looks a little bit different. And then here with the Botswana agate and the Delica, these also had quite a lot of variation, and I did my level best not to pattern with them. And I think we all are always looking for patterns in our world. It's really easy to pick up a pattern. It's much harder to kind of walk away from and ignore the pattern. And the last and final one has the ombre of the carnelian or the agate, carnelian colored agate.
Yeah, it's real pretty.
Right, dark to light. The checkerboard, those little mustard, I think those mustard delicas go in here.
Yeah, I think it's called Toast is the color.
Is it called Toast? I thought it had a mustard in it. It really looks great with that pumpkin leather.
Yeah, it's real nice.
And here's that much more variegated color of herringbone.
And did you use just one strand for both of those?
Yeah.
Both of those ombres?
Yeah.
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 So it's just one.
It goes a long way.
Yeah, it does. It goes a really long way.
Yeah.
And then for the herringbone stitch, you know, if some of you guys are new to watching the broadcast, the week after the broadcast is completed, around the Tuesday after the broadcast, Drea compiles the whole broadcast into what we call episode notes.
Oh.
So she will have the episode notes up so you guys can follow along with the with kind of the written instructions as well. And Emily does like to do a little diagram, so she'll have some more notes for Drea to put in those episode notes as well.
Yeah, I just love how this all kind of stacked
Yeah,
up on
comes
itself.
together. It really looks nice.
Yeah, it looks like 5 different bracelets that you might be wearing, you know?
It's really gorgeous.
And just all that variation of tones and colors. The Rembrandt, thank you. Oh, my brain.
That's him.
That Rembrandt's is just a really pretty bead.
Yeah,
it's a really classy.
It is, and I really
cool.
like it when it's on that matte bead.
Yeah.
And all three, these are all brand new flavors. They just dropped yesterday, so they're brand spanking new.
I mean, look at that color.
Yeah, that
go
ombre.
through.
It's gorgeous.
It's really pretty.
Well,
isn't
we're
it?
so stoked that you tackled this.
I like I said, I learned a lot, and I guess you're pretty much doomed to learn something new every day, whether you like it or not.
Right.
May as well be something fun. The idea that you bring to bear on whatever you do, the things you already know, and have this idea of working kind of with what you're handed, is always a challenge, and it's fun to really come up with some new ideas from it. I do have a challenge for the group,
and
which
I wanna we're gonna move the camera
and we'll talk
back,
about that.
and we'll do that. So I'm gonna hand this to Brandon. It was better. We're still breaking out just a little, but that's all right. We'll just we're gonna keep working on it. Keep going.
AT&T.
Right. I'm not gonna say any. I'm not gonna tell any names, but
not looking at you, but
right. Oh, and there we are.
Yeah.
Look
There
how
we
cute
are.
we are.
Yeah.
There we are. Awesome.
I got a little bit of a highlight,
A
but
little bit. We can pull that up.
Doing that blind
There we
is
go.
not
Not too
actually
bad.
all that bad.
Not too bad.
To,
Nice one. All right. Good job. All right. So we have a challenge that I thought was interesting.
while I was working on this, I had lots of time to think, because these are takes a little bit of
A
time.
big one.
So one of the things that I see in the Facebook group quite often is folks talking about how they don't like their pictures. And I have a background in commercial photography.
And they're pictures of their jewelry pictures.
They're jewelry pictures, not their other pictures.
Right.
I have a background in commercial photography, and so I would like to help you get your pictures a little bit better, just using your camera phone. I don't want to try and go into using a DSLR or anything like that.
But just
or
on the
God forbid, we could. Brandon and I could talk to you about film, but we don't need to. We don't really need to do that. And in the spirit of that idea, working on your photography, I would like to throw out a challenge, and I will go home and do this tomorrow morning, of picking out a few pieces of your jewelry and photo styling them into an editorial layout, a spread, if you will. And I think you need to pick 5 pieces of jewelry.
Yeah, 4 or 5, right?
Yeah. I mean, it could be 3. 4 is awkward, so let's get off of that right away. 3 or 5.
Something like that.
Let's get into that. Let's nitpick it right now. And I would like to see everybody make maybe what's going to be a catalog page, or the idea of, when you look in a magazine and they say this is what's trending. Maybe we'll pick the theme of what's trending on your workbench right now. What are you kind of obsessing over? What are you working on? What's your thing?
And one of those, it's like those pages when you see like the layout of 5 pieces, or if like you're looking in like the jewelry catalogs or whatever, and it all, so you're looking at it with an editorial eye.
Right. And Janice uses the editorial eye often in describing things, and I think how I interpret that is to be clean about what you're picking, about your message. Either we're talking ombre, or we're talking a theme of color, or we're talking a theme of styles, or we're talking something that it speaks to you a little bit. And I want you to think about this a little bit. I'm going to say this is not a quickie challenge. I want this to be a challenge of both a better photograph of your work, Now that might be just for yourself. It might be to send to your sister across the country to show her what you're doing.
Right.
It might be to submit for an article or teach a class.
And
or
sometimes if you do shows, you need to submit kind of, you know,
a CV,
a style sheet.
Right.
Kind of.
I'm going to do a trunk show here in a couple of months near me, which is really exciting. I'm going to work. I know. We haven't talked hardly yet in the last hour.
News to me.
And one of the things that we're working on is to do a little editorial page, a little editorial photo shoot for them to put on their Facebook page so they can advertise where I'm going to be.
Oh, fun.
Yeah. It's at a local hair salon. But we're going to do it for celebrating Mother's Day.
Oh,
so
that'll
it's
be
kind of fun. Yeah.
That'll be fun.
Yeah.
So you're going to post this. So if you haven't been to our Facebook group, The Bead Table, we have a really fun group over there. We have over 4,000 members. So Emily's going to go into
I'd like to also just give you some pointers about making a photograph and set up the setup that I would use and take a picture of it with. I guess I'm going to use my husband's phone. I guess I can use my iPad because my phone. I want my phone to be in there taking the picture.
Oh, I see.
Right, sort of like what we're doing here.
Right.
Somebody needs to be taking a picture.
Right. A picture in a picture.
Yeah,
that's right.
So
no, that's great.
I think there's some easy things that one could do to make things look a lot better. And just sort of help you along, give you some things to think about. And being a little more critical of your photography, I think, is fine. I think that's a great thing because it improves your skills. Just like we would look at a necklace and say, wow, it hangs a little crooked. What can I do to fix that?
Right.
Or it doesn't really, it's a little too tight or it's a little too long. It always falls in my cleavage. What do I do? You make it a little shorter. You know, those kind of things. I think it's a good thing to play around with.
So you can also, to kind of prep for this, when Allie was here, she talked a little bit about how she stacked her bracelets for photography. She showed a little bit about how she edited them on the phone. So if you just stay tuned to the Bead Table and watch for Emily's post, she's going to outline it a little bit. And then you guys just post in the stream. You don't have to post under Emily's original post. Just post in the stream. So I think it'll be kind of fun.
I think everybody's going to benefit from having a little bit more thoughtful experience and a little bit more kind of putting things together away. And that's kind of where I get that editorial
eye.
Yeah, that's what it means to me. And I think we all may have a different take on it, but being thoughtful about what you're doing. I had a lot of time to be thoughtful while I was stitching up multiples of these. So it was very kind of on my mind.
Yeah.
While that was going on.
One of the ways too that I wanted to, when I have to look for things in the groups, in our Bead Table Facebook group, it depends on if you're on a desktop or on a mobile device. On a mobile device, your search is really like right at the top. So if you're like, oh, I want to find that, where is it in my feed? Because my feed never shows us anything. It's never in any kind of order. It's never right. So first, what you want to do, if you're looking, you want to put in the search, I would say like Emily editorial challenge. And so Emily will make sure that when she's writing it, she'll put the one challenge in the copy. And so you'll see it that way. So you'll see them. We'll link them, and Drea will link them, of course, in the episode notes as well. If you haven't joined us over at the Bead Table,
I can't believe you have.
Jump over. And there's just 3 little questions you have to answer to keep out spammers. Answer those, and then a couple of times a week I go through everybody and I let you in. So if you've just added yourself to join the group and you're like, why haven't I added yet? Why am I not in? And sometimes it takes me a couple of days, but I get you in there, okay? And so just go over to our Facebook group, and you can search it in Facebook. You can just search beadshop.com, the Bead Table, and it'll pop right up. Let's pull out a couple of things from that drawer, because we're going long here, just like the Oscars. They're going to start playing us off, right? But you saw, so yesterday in the group, for the last couple of days to kind of celebrate Emily,
This also helped gel my idea a little bit.
I'm glad.
It really did, and I was super excited to see these things.
Oh, I'm so glad. Well, we did a couple of really cool giveaways. Yesterday we did our giveaway called Rain Boots, which was really fun.
Oh my God.
And it was inspired by a photo that Danielle posted over in the group. This one, Maria posted this one here. And so I put a few of these up yesterday, a little collage, and I had people vote. And what I love, so if you, sometimes I just go through the photos in our Facebook group and I just look. You click on photos and then all the photos come up. And I just scroll through. And so I pulled all of these just from scrolling through. So I called this one Lone Tree. And I paletted. I did a color palette. It's kind of hard for you guys to see here, but you can let me bring it close to the camera like that. It's in also your newsletter this morning, if you've opened it up. And so today, that giveaway goes on until tonight at midnight. And today is the third month, March 27th.
I was really worried about you there for a second.
It's the third. Who are you?
The third month.
The third month. That's what
year.
it is. I'm thinking 3. I'm looking at my thing. 3/27. And if you order before midnight on 3/27/2019, and you make an order of $35 or more, we will toss in, when you write Lone Tree in your order notes, we'll toss in, and the tube is a good size. It's like a little 10, actually it's, I think 12 grams of this. So you have plenty, definite, nice, hunky laddering section. And of course, to celebrate the last 2 days we've been celebrating these 2 whole beads. If you add too much into Drea, she's so funny.
Never too much, Drea.
Is the coupon code TWO much. All of our 2-hole beads, not only the super duos, but every 2-hole bead.
Tila's and 2-hole check.
Carrier beads and the 2-hole.
Cool. Oh, I forgot about carrier beads.
Right?
Yeah.
You can't forget about
We could.
We did, I see an idea coming. And the double drills from Dakota Stones.
Oh yeah.
Everything that we have that's 2 holes is on sale, and that is also on sale till tonight at midnight. So many things, so many papers, so much mess on this table, which is awesome. But it was so great to have you.
It's a rainy day here in California.
A little rain.
We're a little cold, a little snuggled here in our little bead cave with all of our juicy things that we're piling all around ourselves. And it was an absolute pleasure to be back.
It was so good. I'm fixing my.
We had a really good dinner last night.
We did. We're gonna have a nice lunch.
I moved to the country where we don't have as many options.
You moved to the country.
We didn't.
You moved to the country from the big city.
We don't have as many options for fun dining, and so we had Thai food last night. It was like, oh, that's right, so good.
That's right.
You know.
Well, we're also so this week, and hopefully we'll be back.
I think we got sooner than this last go.
Yeah, it was just ridiculous. So maybe I can persuade her.
We'll nail down
4 to 6 weeks.
Maybe, let's say 4 weeks, and then it rolls out to 6. Then we're kind of still within that
okay.
number.
Yeah, I'm gonna put it down on the thing. So I know that a lot of you have been asking, Kate, what did you use in the mixes? I will eventually put those up on a blog post. You know, when I do the mixes, and this ties directly into what I'm going to be doing next week on Facebook Live, actually how I make the mixes. I will have the kind of a 411 on how I mix. A lot of the mixes that I do for you guys, like this one that's coming up on Friday, they're never to be seen again.
They're one shot deal.
We get the beads in. Right, so they're not always repeatable. So, but with these seed bead mixes, I will share with you next week the recipes, and I'll show you kind of how I'll use and the Lone Tree mix, and I'll show you how I did those mixes. So on Friday, I've got a really special free tip Friday for you guys coming up. You guys saw when I was in Tucson, we had such a good, that was such a fun broadcast.
And that was
Talk about Wild West.
It was the Wild West. I mean,
it always is.
I don't.
Right, you can hardly.
I was a little bit speechless, and I was like,
we still are.
There was so much chaos kind of going on around us, and
Right.
people were walking by and saying,
was
"Hey,
just
are you broadcasting?"
nuts.
I was
We're
like,
all,
"Yeah,
yeah,
go away! Hi, nice to see you, but take off, hoser."
Yeah, we're just like, wait, what is happening? So
and hammering and torches,
right, it
and
was so awesome. So we, so after that, after all of that, as Janice would say, chazarai that went on, we, I had to shop. I shopped. I found some new products and stuff for the shop, and I was like a woman like that, like with blinders on, and so I bought beads for pearl mix because my first pearl mix
I
you
knew
guys
you
loved.
were going to do that.
And again, that sold out so quickly. So I've done a fresh pearl mix, and I'm wearing the piece. So get ready,
It's
Friday,
really delish.
and we have 100 of them, and they're going to be up on the website starting at midnight.
And is this the quantity too?
Yeah.
Of a kit?
Yeah, this is it. This is the
Mm.
kit. This is the kit itself.
Not is it a kit or is it just
Yeah.
a
Oh no,
grouping?
it's the whole thing.
Oh my god!
So
and
you
this
get-
little
yeah,
crystal here
yeah.
is super
And so I'm going to talk a little bit more about it on
pretty.
Friday.
Mm.
It'll be up on Friday night, midnight Pacific time. We've got 100. So mark your calendars or watch your newsletter because it'll have that link. All of the pearls plus the 3, not 5, 3 beads in between. Plus, I found exactly 100 of these vintage buttons from Burma. I'll tell you about them after, in our after
Is this
party.
someone I know?
Maybe.
Oh.
And this wonderful little crystal. So it's all in. But again, once it's gone, it's gone. So it'll be here on Friday, and it'll be free tip. So watch that newsletter because it'll be up. So it's going to be good times.
Oh, it's.
I think you
it's
guys
really,
will love it.
really, really delicious.
And I have a little bit of variation. This is it strung up, just as is. How you guys get it, and you'll see close-ups and everything in the
Those
newsletter on Friday.
Fatties are so pretty.
I know, aren't they good?
Yeah.
5 of those big pearls are in the kit. It's so delish. So I'm going to show you a little bit of a variation that I'm going to do as well. So it's going to be fun. So that's it. That's Free Tip Friday. Next week on Facebook Live, I'm going to talk about color paletting and making your own mixes. And stay tuned
Super fun to do.
for the episode notes that are coming out about this. Emily will have some more. I know sometimes it's hard to follow along with the video, but those episode notes will really make everything clear. Jump over to our website at beadshop.com. You'll see everything linked, all on those. Karen did a beautiful job. So you'll see.
No, thank you.
It was good times. Thank you guys. Thank you. Brandwin was
Thank you,
focusing and photographing
and focused today.
and all of those.
Yep.
We are really super stoked. So thank you. And Emily, when you're here, it's like old home week, which is great. So I don't have to do this by myself. It's good times. You do that again. Brandon's going to take a photo. We'll pose for a photo, and then we'll sign off.
Yeah.
So thanks so much, you guys.